the way we have gotten to our bull price target, and our bull price target, the probability on that has increased with the ETF significantly, and $1.5 million by 2030. Let's go. Yeah. So there are three major assumptions we're making there, that Bitcoin really becomes half the size of the gold ETFs.
In this episode of Bitcoin Brainstorm Fireside Chat, Cathie Wood, CEO of ARK Invest, explores Bitcoin's transformative potential. She discusses Bitcoin as a decentralized monetary system poised to revolutionize global finance by addressing economic challenges. At the time of recording, Bitcoin trades at $70,000, with a slight 1% decrease in the past 24 hours, but a 12.04% surge over the last 30 days. There are about 19.71 million Bitcoins in circulation, a 0.29% increase in the last 24 hours. Wood recounts her visit to El Salvador, witnessing Bitcoin's integration into the economy and education. She emphasizes the importance of educating youth on this tech for future economic empowerment. Cathie Wood highlights Bitcoin's rise as a new asset class, its adoption in emerging markets, and its role in protecting against currency devaluation. Let's hear more from Cathie Wood and her discovery of why she believes Bitcoin will reshape global finance.
Gold investments. So half that size. And the interesting recent statistic there, David gave me this the other day, is that if you look at 13F filings for the first quarter, this is mostly hedge funds we're talking about, for every hedge fund putting funds into a gold ETF or gold, there were 10 putting them into the new Bitcoin ETFs. That's pretty big, right? So that's our first assumption.
Yeah.
The second is back to the emerging markets. If you look at global money supply and you take away the big four, maybe you shouldn't, but let's take away US, Europe, UK, and Japan out of the global money supply. If you assume that the rest of the money supply, that 10% of it is really reallocated to Bitcoin, it's really the money supply, right? And it could be through treasury, it could be through the treasuries of companies. It could be individuals trying to protect themselves from, destruction of wealth and purchasing power. We're assuming only 10% of that residual goes to Bitcoin. So these are conservative assumptions, I would say, right? And then the third is the institutional. These are the major ones. There are others. There's remittances and so forth. But so institutional involvement, we assume that 6.5% of all financial assets are allocated to Bitcoin. So in global asset allocation, this does include real estate and commodities and, gold and everything, but 6%. And the way we got to that number is that's, maximizing the Sharpe ratio, return per unit of risk is maximized, and really, volatility is not a consideration. In that study, if volatility is, if you really care about it, you'd probably want to allocate 2.5%, but 6.5%. It is interesting. I think President Bukele is really smart because emerging markets, what is the death knell for an emerging market? It is when they run out of reserves, capital flight, running out of reserves. And so if these emerging markets put Bitcoin on their balance sheet and it's appreciating as their own currency is falling apart, that is a beautiful hedge. And they're probably going to increase their allocation over time as they appreciate that this is a risk. And look what the trend of Bitcoin has been. Look at what the trend of most fiat currencies has been, right, relative to anything, the dollar or gold. And even the dollar relative to gold has been a terrible investment since the Fed came into being. So I think emerging markets are going to start But people inside of emerging markets need this insurance policy. And, you know, you need, and I used to say this, and then I met KG,
KG.
I used to say all you need is an internet connection and a smartphone, and you have your insurance policy. You can buy Bitcoin. Now, I guess with not a SIM card, you can access Bitcoin. That's marvelous.
As we heard Cathie Wood share insights on the recent ETFs and the future impact on Bitcoin, let's now listen to Cathie speak about her transformative experience from her trip to Uruguay, where she met core developers. These developers, ranging from young talents to seasoned experts, are passionately driving innovation in the decentralized ecosystem. Wood's first-hand encounter with these innovators underscored the profound impact of Bitcoin and blockchain technology on the future of finance. She also discusses her efforts to integrate Bitcoin education, drawing insights from her observations in El Salvador. There, she witnessed how incorporating Bitcoin into educational curriculums can empower young people and drive economic growth. Let's dive back in and listen more to what Cathie Wood has to say.
You know, the more people that I meet who are making this happen, the more my conviction grows. 2019, I had the pleasure of meeting core developers at a confab in Uruguay, and I met very young developers, so very young developers, to most seasoned, and the most seasoned and the young seem to have the same kind of love for monetary theory that I do. And that increased my confidence. It's really the people who are building this ecosystem, the first global, digital, decentralized, rules-based, critical monetary system in history. That's a very big idea. And that was what Art said at the time. This is what I've been waiting for. This is what it is, but it's also a technology, and it is a new asset class. There is, no matter what other crypto asset you talk about it, no other one has those three. Bitcoin, especially because it is the global monetary system. It's very exciting. And in terms of, that's the conviction side of it, but in terms of the inspiration side of it, this is going to transform people's lives. That's what keeps me so passionate about it. Well, President Bukele and I would say his brother. I also met Ibrahim, his brother. Very, very important duo, I would say. Bitcoin, artificial intelligence, economic reform, education reform. He's going to do it. He's going to be inaugurated for the second time, June 1st, so this week, and he's a man on the move. The GDP of El Salvador is only $30 billion. The average income of an earner there is $450 a month, right? From that low of a base, Art Laffer was with me as well, and David Puel, my colleague back then, back there. Where's David? Oh, there he is, way back there. We were in El Salvador, and from that low a base, I truly think, given his focus and desire to pull his country out of what had been years and years of civil war and then gang warfare after that. He's now put all of them in jail. Now he can get down to business. From such a low base, I really believe he will increase GDP tenfold during his 5-year term, based on those four variables. And the El Salvador was pegged to the dollar. Their is it peso? I forget what the currency is, but it was pegged to the dollar already. So they had that going for them. But he felt so strongly about Bitcoin transforming El Salvador and really making it an oasis in Latin America. He's putting in, and Art Laffer is going to make sure this happens. He's already put in some great tax incentives. No capital. I mean, anyone interested in in doing Bitcoin in, so Mark Seal there, right, is living in El Salvador right now. He's moved, he's AI and crypto, or Bitcoin. So, but the incentive system he's putting in place is going to create an oasis for Bitcoin and AI. And those are two of the biggest, most profound innovation platforms in history. So he's going to make history. Well, you should focus them on disruptive innovation. Get them on the right side of change. That's the most important thing you have to do as a parent from an education point of view. And I feel so strongly about this that we launched 3-4 years ago. We now call it ARC Education Initiative. ARC's research made age appropriate. We just got to St. Pete 2.5 years ago. Made age appropriate is the 6th grade science curriculum throughout Pinellas County, 70,000 students. So they're learning, yeah. And we took, what was that? Oh, okay. All right, fantastic. Yes, and we took to El Salvador with us 2 books, one on Bitcoin, one on AI, targeted at 6th graders for President Bukele. And he just jumped. He said, I will pay anything. I want to get into that program. That is how Florida had something to prove on education because it had one of the worst track records in the country. Now it's really coming up, and because it's willing to experiment and try. And we were outsiders, total outsiders, and we came in the public school. This is the public school system. 100, and we'll be throughout the middle school. So your daughter will get it throughout the middle school, yeah. And we hope to go from toddler through high school, but getting young people inspired, especially, middle school is such an important age for young people. This is a big fork in the road for a lot of young people. It's like there are a lot of social things going on, of course, but you inspire them. And I'll just give you a quick story. During COVID, we went to a place called Jericho Partnership in Danbury, Connecticut, when I was still living in Connecticut. The president said, I am going to lose these young people. They're from very low socioeconomic homes, very difficult circumstances, and I'm going to lose them because they can't come in now. Will you do something? Will you help me? And so we did 2 6-part seminars. One was on drones, one was on 3D printing. And on the drone, so at the end of that 6-part seminar, I was able to say to these young people, you know what? You know more about drones than 98% of the people in the world.
To wrap up this insightful episode with Cathie Wood, she provided great detail into the future of Bitcoin, highlighting the impact of ETFs, the power of Bitcoin education, and the importance of continuous innovation. Her insights around Bitcoin's role as a groundbreaking technology set to transform global finance are particularly interesting. We'd love to hear your thoughts. How do you see AI and blockchain integrating into educational systems? What long-term effects do you think Bitcoin ETFs will have on the market? Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe to Only the Savvy for more engaging content on Bitcoin and blockchain technology. Stay tuned for more exciting discussions.